Ah yes, another year has come and gone. 2016 has brought many firsts, a lot of them bad ones, and has brought many changes to the world, even more of them bad ones. But one positive that it did bring was a plethora of new and entertaining anime for us to enjoy, and that's what I'm here to talk about. Not, the rest of the world going to hell or anything. Well, that out of the way, let me talk about this clearly on-time video about a year that is obviously just ended because I'm completely not behind whatsoever. Yeah, I know, it's March now. Well, you know what? I'm a college student, so let's just be thankful that I'm getting to this before next summer, shall we? Alright, anyway, that out of the way. So yeah, this is my 2016 Top 10 Anime Awards and recap video. Full disclaimer is, of course, that I haven't seen every anime that aired this entire year, and that means that, sadly, there are one or two things that will not be making the cut simply by virtue of me having not watched them. And of course, there's my whole usual, this list is just my opinion, blah blah blah, disclaimer. So yeah, if you don't like the order I put something in, or think I excluded something, say it in the comments, make your own list, knock yourselves out, enjoy, but these are my tastes. Also, a quick heads up that one or two of these awards might / will, definitely will, contain spoilers, so yeah, I'll try to warn you before that. Now then, with all that out of the way, welcome one and all, I am Coriander Stone, and today I'm bringing you my recap of 2016. I've got 29 awards here, that includes my top 10 anime of the year and many other awards besides, so why don't we get started? Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Number 10. Survamp. Sometimes the best reason to watch an anime is just for its sheer sense of fun. And between the fact that this anime screams fun and its fun screamo opening, what's not to love? Survamp is the story of goofy 7 deadly sin vampires teaming up with Eves whose blood they suck in return for granting the Eves their power. Our main Survamp is the vampire Sloth, and he is incredibly entertaining, as is his relationship with his new Eve Mahiro. All in all, what really makes this show is its fun and eclectic cast. Every character is an eccentric, but everyone is eccentric in his own way, and the characters' eccentricities aren't just another string of gags and tropes, but rather real basis for strong characters, and the show does an incredibly good job of rounding out these characters besides and beyond their eccentricities. Survamp is one of those anime that you just watch because it's fun to go along for that ride, and the announcement of its sequel has me very excited for more. Number 9. Season 2, Assassination Classroom. Assassination Classroom really felt more like a split core show, with Season 2 just being the continuation of Season 1 as opposed to a whole new thing. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is was it good or not? And the answer, of course, is yes. This season did a great job of continuing where the first left off. Yeah, there was one or two times when I could tell the pacing was a little sped up, but despite that, the goofy comedy carried over. But this season was a lot more than just the comedic antics of the first. This is where we got into the depth, meat, and darkness of this tentacle-laced, what the hell is happening to anime, I don't even know what this is sort of comedy. And actually, they did a remarkably good job with the tone shift. Like, seriously, I was impressed. They managed to keep the spirit of the show, and the ending was just really well done and feelsy. So props for that. The space arc had me raising my eyebrows a little bit, but that's kind of the charm of the show. It's so ridiculously outlandish that you just can't help but enjoy. Number 8. Fairy Tail Zero. There are so many problems with the Fairy Tail anime that if I were to start trying to list them all, I wouldn't even know where to begin, and we'd still be sitting here when winter came around again. So for now I'm just going to say, it's got flaws. And yet, despite all its myriad stumbles, I keep watching it. I've watched basically the entire thing with the exception of some of the filler. So why? There's a heart to it. A certain joy and entertainment that I got especially when I first started it. And that would really make for a good show if it got the chance, but alas, it never will. Except now. Fairy Tail Zero is a one-off manga by the same author as the original series that takes place at the very beginning of the Fairy Tail Guild, following first Master Mavis Vermilion as the protagonist. It takes everything that is good about Fairy Tail, the darkness, the light, the comedy, the humor, and just the character relationships, and the great character, everything that's good, and puts it into a little show without any of the filler, fan service, or bad. And wow, was I impressed by it. So, even if you're not planning to watch Fairy Tail, I honestly think you should still watch Zero as a standalone, because it is that good. Number 7. 91 Days. 91 Days is a mafia revenge drama, and a great shift to dark after the lighthearted tone of some of the other shows I've talked about. And it's really, really good. The atmosphere and aesthetic are set so nicely with the somber tone, from the gradients of the animation, to the character designs, to the music. The whole thing combines to create quite the atmosphere. A story not hampered by trying to live up to any pre-existing material, 91 Days paces itself according to its episode count and according to how much time the story needs. It's an intense character story that tells a bitter tale of revenge and tragedy, in which there really are no winners. It's not the sort of story you go to if you're looking for a happy ending, or beginning, or middle, a happy anything really. Going from heart-wrenchingly emotional to outlandishly violent and back again. 91 Days is a complex character narrative that I really enjoyed. Number 6. My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is a return to basics, superhero story. Kid without superpower wants to become superhero. Kid gets superpower, etc., etc. But it doesn't matter that this is a return to basics or that this is a setup that's been done before, because what this show has is heart. All of the characters are likable, enjoyable, and three-dimensional. The powers are creative and fun to watch, and the story just gives off this air of warmth and caring that makes it a joy to watch. Honestly, probably my favorite thing about the show is the protagonist Deku. That's not to say he's the best thing in the show, but that is to say that in an era where every show like this has your generic main character that you just can't wait to get off the screen, Deku was a breath of fresh air in terms of a warm, genuine, likable, and relatable protagonist who I actually genuinely got behind. I thought I might possibly get around to this anime, watched one episode, ended up binging the entire thing in like 24 hours, incidentally not the best thing to do during midterms, and am now excited as all hell for season 2. Number 5. Erased. Oh, look at that, it's time to join the mainstream. Yeah, I know, this is a show that a lot of people have been talking about as Anime of the Year, Savior of Anime, blah blah blah. And while it's not quite that perfect, the ending's a bit rushed, the final episode especially, it's still a damn amazing show. It's thoughtful and thought-provoking, it's got a great cast, and honestly, the premise combined with the tension and suspense alone are enough to recommend it. And actually, I'm one of those people who didn't think Erased dropped off in quality later on. I feel like they did a really good job of holding the story and keeping the pacing going all the way through. I loved watching Satoru's journey and his development from where he started to where he ended up. I thought they did a really nice job of capturing his character, and while I'm sad to say that they had to leave some other characters by the wayside in order to fit it into the adaptation, I still loved what we got. To me, Erased was a caliber of time travel anime that put itself alongside shows like Higurashi, Steins Gate, and yes, it was better than ReZero. Fight me. Number 4. Ruby. Alright, this is the part where I give the Ruby is not an anime, but it might be an anime, but it's not really, but it doesn't really matter because it's still worthy of inclusion because it should be held to anime standards spiel. You know what? I've given it twice now. Go check my other videos. Moving on. Ruby does belong here. And this season more than any other. Well, what aired in 2016 was actually the end of Volume 3 and the beginning and middle of Volume 4. And you know what? I know it doesn't fall quite in line, but what we got still was the best Ruby's been thus far, honestly, in my opinion. From the characters to the world building, Volume 4 just swept me away with how well done the series is and how the creators are taking advantage of every moment they have to really create a story worth telling and worth watching. All of which builds so beautifully on the dark and shocking tone changes at the end of Volume 3. And of course, the animation was stunning, improving even more by leaps and bounds as it always does. The soundtrack was gorgeous, what else is new? And oh boy, is this a series I love. Number 3. Bungo Stray Dogs. As much as I love 91 Days, Bungo Stray Dogs is the best mafia anime I've seen all year. Hell, best one I've seen ever. Probably what I love best about this show is the way it takes advantage of every character. The story starts by introducing you to Atsushi just before he joins the armed detective agency. But the more time you spend with the show, the less time you're actually spending with Atsushi as the main character, because as you meet each new character, regardless of whether they're main or minor, on the same side of Atsushi or his bitterest rivals, or just characters that have really nothing to do with him at all, you start getting swept up into their own lives and their own stories, branching out from him in a network of cast members that are just so well written that I had no problem keeping track of them. Characters that seem minor or like one-time antagonists come back to be important members, not just of the main group, but of the enemy groups like the Port Mafia and the Guild as well. They take on roles in future story arcs, and just the fact that the story becomes as open-ended and open-sided as it does makes for quite the ride. From superpower shenanigans to dark mafia drama, this show knows how to tone change, and it definitely knows how to tell a good story. Number 2. As far as long-awaited sequels go, it's hard to get higher on the hype train than D.Gray-Man Hallow. As a huge D.Gray-Man fan, I was every bit as hyped as the rest of the fandom when this show came out, and you know what? I wasn't disappointed. With the exception of some overly quick pacing at the beginning of the Phantom Thief G arc, honestly, I really don't have any complaints. Hallow is the point at which D.Gray-Man kisses goodbye to even the pretense of being a shonen, and goes straight down that dark, dark rabbit hole. From the awakening of the 14th Noah to the tragedy of the Alma Karma arc, I really don't have any complaints, either with the plot or the execution. Not that I'm particularly surprised, mind you, because the anime's creators worked closely with the story's original mangaka, Katsura Hoshino, to bring her story and characters back from the dead. Nah, jokes aside though, Hallow is one of the best sequels I've ever seen in all of anime, and would be #1 anime of the year if it weren't for number 1. The Heroic Legend of Arslan, Dust Storm Dance, or Arslan Senki Fujin Rambo. Whether you call it one or the other doesn't matter. What does matter is that you acknowledge that Arslan is spectacularly amazing, that Narcissus' art is perfect, and that this season is about as good as second seasons get. What? No, I'm not biased. In all seriousness though, choosing between Hallow and Dust Storm Dance to take the #1 spot was one of the hardest choices I had to make for this list. A choice so difficult that at the end of the day I could either give them a tie like I did in my summer countdown, which I didn't really want to do again, or go off of pure personal biases. And so I decided to do the latter. The one big difference between Arslan and D.Gray-Man Hallow for me was just that for D.Gray-Man, I'd read the manga. So as much as I've loved every minute, it didn't have the same fresh need-to-know plot twist factor that Arslan did. But pure and arbitrary rulings aside, Arslan Senki is just one of the best fantasy stories ever, anime or not. It's an epic classic legend, a tale of a prince set out to reclaim his homeland, and the second season adds a whole new layer of plot twists and intrigue that I heartily enjoyed. Yeah!